Imagine working in the hot streets of Manila in the early 1990s. You're a butcher, slaving away in a loud, humid market for long hours, and you only make several dollars a day to support a large family. Then, one evening, you're holding a Pepsi bottle cap in your hand. On it is a number. You bought several of these sodas in the hope of winning a big $40,000 giveaway at the end of the promotion. This money could change your family's life. It's a mountain of earnings in a world of limited opportunities. Suddenly, you realize that you've won. Frantically, you quadruple check your numbers. The number is accurate. Your heart begins racing as you rush to call your wife and kids. However, you, and many winners like you, will never see that money. But at least you won't lose your life, like some. You watch as Pepsi begins reading off the winners on TV. It started a year prior. As the number 2 in the cola industry, Pepsi had engaged in several promotional attempts over the years to compete with rival Coca-Cola. In 1989, they marketed Pepsi AM as an alternative to coffee. It had 28% more caffeine than regular Pepsi. The product didn't catch on, nor did the company's expensive attempt to recruit pop star Madonna that same year. Stung by the controversy over the religious-themed Like a Prayer video, the company pulled advertising featuring the singer despite having paid her $5 million for the endorsement. However, their Pepsi Number Fever campaign didn't appear to carry the same risks. Pepsi only saw an upside. In the Philippines, it was the world's 12th largest market for soft drinks and had a rapidly growing population of 62 million people. The economy was weak. Lots of people were struggling to make ends meet. Tens of millions worked in rice fields and other physically demanding, low-paying jobs. So the promise of winning anything from a modest amount of money to $1 million pesos was enough to spike sales 40%, capturing 26% of the country's market share. As well as trying to break into the Philippine market, it also had its eyes on Argentina, Chile, Guatemala, and Mexico, where Coca-Cola was already dominant. So Pepsi executives decided to launch a promotional campaign that promised to have lots of payouts. The rules? Simple. Buy a bottle of Pepsi, 7-Up, Mountain Dew, or Miranda, and inscribed underneath the bottle cap will be a 3-digit code. The Pepsi company was said to have tight control over the production of the bottle cap codes, as the winner of the grand prize, to be announced at the height of the summer, would take home P1 million, a fever dream not only for the citizens of the country, but for Pepsi as well. As many Filipinos today could relate, getting 611 times your monthly salary in one night when all you'd essentially need to do is drink a lot of soda sounds like an easy and effortless way to make money. With their market share going up from 19.4% to 24.9%, the company, of course, didn't seem to mind capitalizing on the aspirations of opportunity-minded Filipinos. Each Pepsi bottle cap would have a number that correlated to a prize that would be announced. There would be lots of small winners and then 2 huge winners of $40,000 each. Seems straightforward enough, which is what Filipinos at the time thought as well. Millions of hopeful Filipinos participated in the campaign, and Pepsi's monthly sales skyrocketed from $10 million to $14 million. To determine the winning numbers, Pepsi recruited DG Consultores, a marketing firm based in Mexico. The numbers were generated via computer, then secured in a safe box deposit in Manila. From there, the list would be used to seed bottle caps in the bottling plants. Each night, the company would announce the day's winning number on television. Yet, as most soda drinkers know, if you shake up the bottle, you'd best be ready for the explosive mess you're about to have on your hands. Fast forward to the 25th of May. The big day arrives. All the Filipinos have their TVs on, and millions were on the edge of their seat as they tuned in to the news for the announcement that the winning number was 349, a 3-digit code that researchers and publications claim to have been printed on 800,000 bottle caps. Talk about a glaring editorial mistake. Those 800,000 winning bottle caps weren't technically winners. Each contest bottle cap had a security code alongside the number for confirmation. The misprints had no code, but that mattered little to the people who were convinced that they had won. The contest was initially a huge success. Pepsi had run similar promotions with great success across Latin America, and the contest got Filipinos excited enough that Pepsi's market share went from 4% to nearly 25% overnight. No word as to how far it dropped after disaster struck though. Pepsi then realized that they've made a terrible mistake. They did their whole, whoa, hold up. The optics on the situation were not pretty. You would have this first world multi-billion-dollar business that has made this huge monetary promise to these poor people only to backpedal and blame it on a system error. One could see how it wouldn't sit well with the rice farmer or anyone for that matter. To make matters worse, some business executives thought that they could tone down the situation by announcing the following day that the winning number was actually 134, which undoubtedly only added more to the confusion and to the number of supposed winners. Meanwhile, panicked Pepsi executives held 3 a.m. meetings and worked out a compromise where the misprint bottle caps would be exchanged for a 500 peso or $18 consolation prize, a far cry from the 1 million pesos that was originally promised to the winner. But according to Asia Week, Pepsi ended up paying close to 10 million US dollars or about 260 million pesos in 1992, an even further cry from the comparatively measly $2 million that they had set for prizes. Although 486,170 people accepted an honest mistake on Pepsi's part, it was a lose-lose for Pepsi. Some people were angry, and some people were very angry, so it's no surprise to learn that chaos ensued. The winners, the 349 Alliance, paid a visit to the company's bottling factory in Quezon City, where protests and later riots would begin and escalate over the next few days. Rocks were thrown and things got nasty. The police were called in. The attacks continued even close to a year after the night of the announcement. One homemade bomb was thrown at a Pepsi delivery truck only for it to bounce off and detonate towards the sidewalk, killing a school teacher and a 5-year-old girl and injuring several others. A month later, a manufacturing plant in Davao was similarly bombed with a grenade, which killed 3 of the employees working there. The tumult stretched well into 1993, at which point a sensational new twist captured local headlines. In December of that year, a police officer filed a report alleging that the bombings and riots were not the result of protesters. They were, he insisted, deliberate acts of self-sabotage by Pepsi against itself. The accusation, which was reported in the Chicago Tribune, came from Artemio Sacagawing, chief of the organized crime division of the country's National Bureau of Investigation. In his brief, Sacagawing reported to Manila prosecutors that a man had confessed to being a Pepsi security guard and knew of 3 mercenaries who were hired by the company to damage their property. In doing so, Sacagawing claimed that they could portray the anti-Pepsi groups as being violent and labeled as terrorists, harming their position in court. One sitting senator even suggested rival bottlers were behind the attacks. However, not all battles were fought violently. The Pepsi number fever case went to the Philippines Supreme Court. Hundreds of civil suits and thousands of criminal fraud complaints were filed in the wake of the 349 incident. One court awarded plaintiffs 10,000 pesos each in moral damages. 3 of those plaintiffs appealed for more money. The appellate court raised the award to 30,000 pesos. Pepsi then appealed that decision, and in 2006, 14 years after the initial incident, the Supreme Court ruled Pepsi was neither liable for the misprinted prizes nor further damages. And in a Simpson-esque "let's never speak of this again" touch, the justices also ruled the issues surrounding the 349 incident have been laid to rest and must no longer be disturbed in this decision. After years of multiple cases being filed both in the Philippines and the United States, no full payout has been given to those who still staked their claim of the grand prize. Settlements, both in and out of the court, were met over moral damages caused by the whole fiasco. Local Vice President of Pepsi, Frederick Dale, told Deutsche Presse Agentur via Bloomberg that, quote, "Anytime anyone mentions anything to do with Pepsi, somebody always digs up 349. The Philippine Senate Committee on Trade and Commerce accused Pepsi of gross negligence and noted that Pepsi was involved in a similar fiasco in Chile just a month before the 349 incident. Pepsi blamed the flap on a, quote, computer software glitch that allowed inadvertent printing and circulation of hundreds of thousands of additional 349 caps, albeit ones without winning security codes. It's a horribly unfortunate situation, but there was no attempt on Pepsi's part to deceive anybody. At least that's what Kenneth Ross, a spokesperson for Pepsi Cola International, stated from PepsiCo Incorporated's headquarters in Purchase, New York.